Okay, so who gon' read the grapes of wrath? All gas, no breaking pad. All ass like I'm late for class.
Perfect.
My faith in craft, really too great, break the math. Eat clowns up, steaks and crabs. Basic pass, y'all need a crew, Stacy Dash. We all in black, the matrix cast. Rise awake and faster, better yet, break the glass. I cut through both snakes and grass. Passion, I'm laced with that. Spit too cold, your face get chapped. Whole space collapse. I'm basically chopping this whole place in half. Be the last thing you see like a Jason mask. I'm bodacious, totally so safe, embrace. In fact, I shoot straight through Satan's cap. No shortcuts, adjacent paths. We cook an apron sash. I bring the heat where you stationed at. I don't know why you are gone.
Yeah.
I don't know.
What up? I don't know. That's the new track I dropped, 11 days ago. Check it out on this YouTube page. Yo, what's going on, everybody? Hello. It is February 10th. I believe this is episode 120 we're looking at. And it's February 10th. And this one, sometimes I get on and I say I'm going to do a half-hour show. And things kind of pull me and I go longer than I thought. We get up with an hour long or plus show for certain things. And that happens sometimes. We're talking about things I care about, stuff I'm passionate about. But today I'm pretty sure we're going to end it. We're going to do a half-hour show today. I'm looking at the clock. And why? Because it's 11:30, actually. It's much later than I typically do. But I wanted to get on and talk about it and start the Monday off. Applause. Yes. Well, I mean, let's just get right into the news. Okay, Super Bowl. Did you watch the fucking Super Bowl? It was over in the first quarter. That was one of the worst Super Bowls I've ever seen, man. What? Yeah, man, I like a Super Bowl where it's a nail biter, or at least it's a back and forth, or it's like, I don't care. I don't even need a bunch of points. You know what I'm saying? Like a crazy 40 to 40, you know what I'm saying? 47 points tossed around the ball, bunch of touchdowns. That's cool, but I also like a good defensive battle. So I could have fucked with that. A defensive battle where the game is tight near the end. But no, we had a game. I actually took a cab to go see the game at my sister and brother's house in like about 40 minutes from me, and on the cab ride I get out and I get to the place, I get to the crib and I get out. It was 21-zip by then already. It was like still the first quarter. So I was like, oh boy, that's crazy. And then, you know, the game just kind of dragged on, and then you got to see Mahomes and them look really sad and confused. Really, it was weird. Sometimes it'd be like that. Sometimes when I think about myself, I think about like my career of football in high school and college. There were certain plays where afterwards I was thinking like, yo, how did that? Certain things just had to work out the way they did. Like certain tackles I'd miss. Like I'm up here. I was a pretty, sturdy and consistent tackler. I get up there and I'm about to tackle somebody, and this dude wriggles out, and he's like he's got butter all over his friggin' jersey, and I can't hold on, and then he's spinning around, and I'm on the floor trying to get up, and I look, and the dude. He's just spinning off all these other people and, has this big highlight play. Some like really talented guys that played in Brooklyn who went on to play, in big colleges. And so I look back like, geez, it's almost like that just had to happen. And it felt like that with that game. It felt like the throws that Mahomes typically makes weren't there. It felt like the offensive line, he just didn't have any chance sometimes. And the ball just wasn't bouncing their way. The interceptions, that one intercept, obviously there's the white boy corner, I forget his name. He's solid. The other linebacker did this diving joint. I mean, just stuff that would typically go one way, all of a sudden it goes a different way. It's just, you ever notice that? Feels weird. Sheba says, what up? The game is secondary in importance to the propaganda. Yeah, the NFL is a massive mainstay of American culture, and it's teamed itself up with the American military branding and kind of the American exceptionalism branding. And this year, the game, they took off the words "and racism." They had a 4-year period of more than 4 years. When did it start doing that? I don't really care. I'm not even gonna Google it because I don't care. But they started. They had end racism in the back of the end zone for a while, and they took it off this year. And this is something to notice because again, the way this country works, maybe the way a lot of countries seem to work, especially when you have unchecked power. The person at the top gets to set a tone. He sets a tone, and then everybody starts to kind of pay attention and follow. This stuff moves markets. It moves. It creates trends in the way in our discourse. They create trends in our language and in our typical conversations between regular people. It is no joke to have the bully pulpit of the presidential podium and the seal and all the reverence that everyone is taught to give to the president. It's no joke to have that. And I think we have it now we're going to deal with 4 years again with Donald Trump, him and his team are like unbridled. Like they don't believe in the fundamental separations of powers, the fundamental process of democracies, of the U.S. democracy in particular. They're going to be pushing and challenging and testing all the way through. They're going to be, and this is the most media savvy, most media clever, most media manipulative, and media ready. Media ready. There are people who train to get ready for the media. And these guys have all done it. They're all very well trained. They're all TV personalities and with different shows. And Elon is sort of the exception to that. But he's not a personality. He's not like a very exciting or interesting interview, let's say. But he's the owner of Twitter. He's the owner of X. So Elon Musk has bought his way, as he's done with quite a few of the things that have been successful for him. He's bought his way into a powerful position in a lot of different fucking ways. We are going to be watching a bunch of guys just really test what they can get away with. What they can get away with saying, what they can get away with doing, and challenging people to challenge them back and push them back. And I just think we have to be ready for that. And I don't think we are. I think that the opposition party, for instance, is committed to the kind of decorum. And, well, they have this, I think, was it Hakeem Jeffries who said, they have the Senate, they have the House, they have the executive. What do you want us to do? There's nothing. They have the government. We're just going to wait. And I think they're all they're all in agreement. This is like being second place in a two-party race isn't that bad. So being second place for 4 years and kind of going through the rotation, and now you get to you are no longer the figurehead who has to take the blame for issues and the ups and the downs of the economy. You are no longer the figurehead who has to take the blame for funding the genocidal intentions and the genocidal actions of the Israeli regime and all that. You are now the minority party, and you can play the role of sort of quasi-performance opposition, and that's a different role. And it's also one that, in that world, it's quite good. There's still lots of jobs available for the Democrats and that whole thing. There's still ways to be in the political realm. Like, again, just kind of pointing things out and maybe, stalling. We're going to see, because if you remember in Barack Obama's presidency, the Republican leader at the time, forget his name. Was it McConnell? No, it wasn't McConnell. It might have been McConnell, who was, he came out very early. He just said, we're going to make this impossible for him. Our goal is to make him a one-term president. And obviously, Trump will be this is his second term. But the point of the one-term president was to say to make the 4 years very difficult, where he accomplishes little to nothing. And we block everything, particularly in the formal modes of things, in the formalities of like how the Republicans and the Democrats play off each other in Congress. But we're not going to be seeing formal stuff here. We're not dealing with a formal person or a formal cabinet who's interested in all of these formalities. They're going, as I said, they're going to test things and do things on their own. And that's what the Doge thing is. Trump, they create this thing called Doge, a play off the meme coin, the crypto meme coin. You know, they think that's really clever. They're doing government efficiency, and they are engaged in what some people think to be a takeover, and we're in a constitutional crisis. Constitutional crisis is an important word. Will the dominant cable media use language like that to talk about this moment? We'll see. But absent dominant media, we do have Democracy Now! Crushing it. I just want to play a couple of minutes of this.
Legal experts are warning of a constitutional crisis, as the Trump administration hints it may ignore a federal judge's ruling temporarily blocking Elon Musk and his Doge associates from accessing the Treasury Department's payment systems and sensitive data. Over the weekend, Elon Musk lashed out at Judge Paul Engelmeyer, referring to him on X as a, quote, corrupt judge protecting corruption, calling for Engelmeyer to be impeached. In his ruling, Engelmeyer warned of irreparable harm presented by Doge's access to sensitive information and of the, quote, heightened risk that the systems in question will be more vulnerable than before to hacking, unquote. In response, Vice President J.D. Vance said on X, quote, if a judge tried to tell a general how to conduct a military operation, that would be illegal. If a judge tried to command the attorney general on how to use her discretion as a prosecutor, that's also illegal. Judges aren't allowed to control the executive's legitimate power, said the Vice President of the United States, a graduate of Yale Law School, J.D. Vance. Meanwhile, President Trump on Friday said...
I just want to pause there. I'll come back full screen. I'll come back full screen. So, Elon Musk, private citizen, immigrant from South Africa. I covered a little bit about his family and his history. There's much more to say, much more to learn about the dude, but Elon Musk has a prominent place next to the incoming president, or to the president, Trump. And he's also the owner of some major, companies with the electronic in Tesla and SpaceX. He bought Twitter, which pulls him into the media space. He calls himself a free speech absolutist when we know that that's not true. I just want to point to how these dudes will use language however they want. They will make whatever arguments they want for themselves. The Republican Party thing, I grew up around them talking about small, like not having overreaches of government. They talked about actually the Democrats being the party of unelected bureaucrats doing this and adding that, and or even taking away stuff. And here, what you see with Elon screaming on Twitter, exclamation points for judges to be impeached, the Vice President Trump, all these guys, all these lackeys are gonna like just release the hounds and go out, and their job is to just defend everything that they're doing. They are, you see this word in the newspaper a lot about loyalists. I remember reading about loyalists when I read about history. George Washington had loyalists, and other presidents have had loyalists. The opposition people at the different political moments in history, these loyalists here, we're doing it. In this context, what we're talking about with loyalists, we're talking about sycophants. Like, a loyalist to me, it's absurd. It really kind of boggles my mind. And the one thing that I can explain or understand a loyalist is if they have this like close relationship. These are actually people who are in on the take of the thing. They actually, I'm a loyalist to Trump because I worked with him and he paid me this and that. And And he sets me up, and that's what these people are doing when the president has this capacity to just at a whim make these kinds of moves and as I said, move markets and set up arrangements and put people in high positions. How are you a loyalist outside of that context? Like, I don't understand that. I have I'm gonna share my screen. I have this post that I found of Donald Trump, who is, apart from what Doge is doing, he's interested in taking over the Kennedy Center. He says here, at my direction, we're going to make the Kennedy Center in Washington, D.C. great again. I've decided to immediately terminate multiple individuals from the Board of Trustees, including the chairman, who do not share our vision for a golden age in arts and culture. We will soon announce a new board with an amazing chairman, Donald J. Trump! Exclamation point. Wow, he's so big on himself. And he's installing himself as chairman of the Kennedy Center after firing the Board of Trustees on that national iconic stage. This is just a national, landmark and a mainstay for like all kinds of creative works that are happening all around the world. They can come to the Kennedy Center and flourish and get the audience from the DC audience out here. He says here, just last year, the Kennedy Center featured drag shows specifically targeting our youth. This will stop. The Kennedy Center is an American jewel and must reflect the brightest stars on its stage from all across the nation. I actually saw an article that talked about that. They said on the calendar, at least on the calendar for the Kennedy Center, in the year 2024, they had 2 drag shows. They had a drag brunch and some other drag event, possibly a RuPaul drag event. 2 out of 365 days in a year, 2 were drag events, but he calls those out. He says specifically targeting our youth. I don't know where he gets that from, but it doesn't matter if it's true or not. What matters is that the people he's talking to get angry and that they're upset. And so that's what he does there. This will stop. Now, I just think, let me go full screen on that. I just think that's wild. I think that we've read about regimes in different parts of the country. Different parts of the world. We've read about regimes at different points in history, people and leaders who are so committed to rerouting the country, singularly. They consolidate political power, they consolidate media power, and they also step into the cultural realm and want to impose their personal view and their personal whims. By doing things like this, heavy-handed stuff, by firing people and replacing like people in the art space, established communities and groups and boards and committees, and installing himself as chairman of the Kennedy Center. I think it's an ominous act. I think singularly, it's an ominous act. I think this tweet alone to single out drag queens or drag shows and to set that up, targeting our youth. He's so flippant with the way that he speaks, and he's so, I think, lacking in the typical sort of careful approach to speaking about difficult topics or speaking about complex topics. But that's what he is, and he's completely unbridled. This is the second term. There's no, there's nothing holding him back. It would have been nice if the opposition party actually fielded an appropriate candidate early on, and had run a full campaign for months and months and months, or years on, that we had some consistency there. We could have won that election. Instead, it was a complete mess. It was a complete mess. Although MSNBC wants you to know that it was flawless. It was a flawless campaign. But I posted this thing. I posted that Donald Trump tweet, and I posted it on Facebook, and I asked the people who follow me, I said, if anyone voted for Donald Trump, or the Donald Trump voters, are y'all cool with this? And like 2 guys spoke up. And the funny thing about it is, one of these dudes is somebody I know from high school, military guy. I've actually had him on the show. The other person is someone I know from college. Both play football. And the first person is a white guy. The second person is a black guy. They both apparently voted for Trump, and they both think that there's nothing wrong with this. The black guy in particular went hard. He was like, "Yeah, get the gays out of here, get the trannies out, get this weird shit out of here, all that weird stuff. I'm here for it." And so I found myself having, on this one issue, I have 2 people who I kind of know generally where they come from. They have very different views of the world. Very different views of the world. But both voted for Trump and both agree that he's well within his rights to fire the established board of trustees for the Kennedy Center and install himself as chairman of the arts. Chairman of Kennedy Center of the arts. So I found myself in this weird situation where I was like having, 2 conversations. So with the dude who was like, "Yo, get this gay shit out of here," I asked him, I said, "So because you agree with the chairman of the cultural chairman in this instance, you think it's okay. But what if the cultural chairman thinks that, black history needs to be curtailed and black narratives and black storytelling, black art in general needs to be curtailed, and he wants to strip the Kennedy Center of black expression and black art?" And he said, "Sure, I agree with the culture. I agree with the cultural chairman." He said that we don't need, black art doesn't need the Kennedy Center, or black history. He said black history is fake. Black history is wrong. We've been taught a false black history, so we don't need that. These cultural centers, these national stages. Our stories would be better told on our own. We need to, and I think this is a quote, he said, we need to spend however long it takes. It could take 10 decades. No, 10 generations. But we can build and teach our own history, the proper history and all that stuff. And I found myself just kind of shaking my head because yes, there's a history. I talk about this all the time, that like there's a history, there's a reality that occurs, and then there's the history that we've been taught. There's a collection of words that go in textbooks, which is, without a doubt, it carves away at what reality is and gives us only a small sliver of it. So we don't get the full picture of American history. We don't get the full picture of black Americans' history in the United States, the contributions. But that's not what's at stake here. This is not even, for him, it's like, that's why I had the question, like, we moved into a conversation of race because he clearly doesn't see drag shows as worthy of protecting. Like, he's down for getting rid of those. But I wanted to pull him in a condition where I knew he would pause for a second, but then he kind of shocked me that he's fine. He's fine if the president of the United States thinks that black history and black art need to be curtailed in the Kennedy Center. And the thing about it is the Kennedy Center is such a big stage, and the president, his position, that tweet, this tone that he's setting, it ripples out. It affects other arenas and other parts of the arts. It affects funding and fundraising. I know like the Kennedy Center, I don't know their details. I don't know the details of how they do and operate, but I know that they devote specific time, like a certain percentage of the time spent on stage, certain percentage yearly is with intention made sure that there are black writers and black stories being told, black dance troupes, black artists being on that stage. And this person said it's okay. It's okay. It makes it, he says, look, you're expecting the president to care about you. I just thought it was just a weird conversation. I thought it was a weird conversation. You know what I'm saying? So I tried to not have it for too long, frankly, because it's not about expecting anything from the president. This president that he voted for is now putting his thumb on the cultural scale in such a heavy-handed way with his biases. The queer community is the first to get it in this instance. We see him attacking DEI in the workplace. This is how it goes. And this is why it's important. This is why it's not relevant whether you are yourself a member of the queer community. This is why so many sayings, they talk about, stepping up and supporting other people's rights and other people's access and supporting diverse ideas and groups in the room. Because when these right-wing power structures want scapegoats and they want to shore up their base and show that they're fighting for some old conservative, old school stuff, they simply look out into the society and they pick marginalized groups that can't well fund or defend themselves, and they do stuff like this. And again, today it's the queer community. Tomorrow it's women. The day after that it's black people. And it's just nutty to me. But again, and it's funny because I actually don't think he would be like, if we were explaining exactly like what it all means. I don't think any reasonable person would be, especially not a black. Like, this person actually changes their name. Their name has been changed. I know them as one name. They have a different name, an Afrocentric name now. But he said it's cool if the president, if the cultural leader, Trump, decides that black history and black culture isn't something he wants to prioritize. He wants to deprioritize in the Kennedy Center. And I believe he said that only because he wanted to stay consistent. I asked him that question specifically because I wanted to see where the fissure was. How far is he willing to go with this stuff? He agrees with the president here. Clearly he won't agree with the president. But I think he in an effort to be consistent, he's like, yeah, who cares about the Kennedy Center and black arts, and we don't need national recognition of black history and black voices. Let all that money that is dedicated to the Kennedy Center and to the arts, let all that go only to white voices. Let's have the Kennedy Center do only biopic theatrical, representations of George Washington and the Roaring Twenties and the Kennedys and stuff. Let's only do that. He thinks that's okay, but again, I don't think he really does think it's okay. I think it's an effort to be consistent, because what he really agrees with here, without a doubt, he's disgusted by the idea that there were drag shows at the Kennedy Center. I don't know if he's ever been to a drag show, but he has a sense that it's a terrible thing. And he's okay with letting the president, at a whim, at his own feeling, fire the board of trustees and install himself as chairman. So that's nutty. With the other person, it was a different conversation. It was more like, he voted for Trump, and he said that it's the Kennedy Center, and RFK Jr. is in the cabinet. So this is the nephew of the namesake of the building. He says, "So that makes sense." And the president has the right to do whatever he wants, and so he's down for it. The truth is, again, it's simply, it has to do with this exclusionary effort is an attack on a community that neither of these two men identify with and neither of these two men care about. So it's like that. But as I've talked about on this show several times, I think that that's just a whack position. You actually you should be careful and mindful of this kind of consolidated power. And you should understand that there are expressions in this world, artistic expressions that won't be appealing to you, that you may not understand. And it's not for you. And that's okay. It's for someone else. And you don't have to scoff at them or mock them or be excited to see executive power like just snuff it out. That's goofy. You're supposed to be like, our civics understanding about the executive branch and about our separations of powers. The only thing that holds that up is the integrity of the people in those positions, and the commitment of like the citizenry. Like, you have to see the encroachments on our civil rights, the encroachments on our free speech, the encroachments on our rights. You have to see them, acknowledge them, and stand for them. And you can't wait until they come for specifically you. Some people are so confident they know that that it'll never come for them. It'll never come for them. If you're like a white guy, it'll never come for cisgendered, heteronormative white guy. You got it. The president will never create some kind of a move where he's just trying to undermine you and your definition of self and sort of mock your cultural creativity and say it needs to be removed. But it certainly will do it for queer people to the degree that he can, and he certainly will do it. They're challenging our notions of black history and the race discourse. They're pushing back. And the only way to stop them is to push back ourselves. I saw that there was a publishing of some words. But there's some words that have been banned. Banned words list. Trump has a list of forbidden words. Did you know that? I'm gonna end with this, actually. Here's actually, you know what? This is gonna be the worst thing on the internet. Ready? Ready for this, y'all? The worst shit on the internet. The absolute worst shit on the internet. This is the list of Trump's forbidden words that will get your paper flagged at NSF. NSF. What is NSF for? Every agency is interpreted. Every federal agency in the U.S. is currently trying to figure out how to purge forbidden words from documents posted online in a desperate attempt to comply with President Donald Trump's executive order to purge DEI from every facet of American life. And nowhere is that effort more brazen than the National Science Foundation. The National Science Foundation, which is currently combing through websites and research papers for a long list of words that include female, disability, and LGBT, among a host of others. So in their campaign, again, the price of eggs continues to rise, oil prices, genocide, Cost of living. Many people are in some heavy credit card debt. There's all kinds of things that this president could address. There's all kinds of things that he promised to address. It's important to note that, like, this word ban, we have to use those words as often as possible. Forbidden keywords that initiate a review at NSF include activism, advocacy, barriers, biased. Yeah, there's no bias. We shouldn't talk about bias. It doesn't exist. It's not real, right? He doesn't want to, he just removes it. BIPOC, Black and Latinx, community diversity, community equity. All these words with diverse, discriminatory. We won't be able to describe certain things because these words are banned. How can you describe certain things easily? This word helps us point directly to something. He wants to ban it, so it's harder to have these conversations. Diversity, diversify, equity, enhance the diversity, equality, equitable. Even here, females. This is weird. Gender diversity, genders, females again. That's weird. Inclusivity. Here we go. Race, racial, status, stereotypes, systemic. We can't have a conversation about things that are systemic. Everything can only be talked about on the level of, like, personal stuff. Oh yeah, this is how they like to write history. They write history about, oh, person X did this, and then that other person did that, and then this was a good man who thought about this, and he came up with this idea, and then he pushed it through, and then the other man came over, and never is there a conversation about systems, about the interplay and the interconnection between, incentives in our systems, political systems, in our discourse, in our economic systems. No. Systemic will be removed. Underrepresented, underserved. No one's underserved. We don't need that word. Undervalued, women, and underrepresented. Okay, again, this isn't just NSF. The CDC is also doing this. Yeah, that's the worst thing on the internet. The worst shit on the internet. The absolute worst shit on the internet. I find it weird. I think it's weird. Actually, there's another person I know who I went to high school with, who's a military person. And when Donald Trump first said that he was going to take over Greenland, he first said it, and then I read some articles about it. And then within a couple of days, I saw this post from this dude. And he says, I think Donald Trump should buy Greenland. And, I don't think he should, because there was talk whether he should buy it or whether he would, invade, or it would be more of a combative thing, because Greenland is like, yo, we're not for sale. What are you talking about? The owners of Greenland. And so I asked him, I said, so why do you think Donald Trump should buy Greenland? He's like, well, because, I said, you think Donald Trump should buy Greenland because he said it? So now you think, because he thinks it, now you think it? He's like, no, because there's resources, blah, blah, blah. Would you have said, like, absent Donald Trump saying that, would you have said, would you have posted on social media that Donald Trump should buy Greenland, or that the president should, or that the U.S. should buy Greenland? Is that something you would have said absent Donald Trump's prompting? No reply to that. It's weird to me. The sway and the pull and the power of the presidency is that great. Not only are they actively doing things, but very passively, just their suggestion, the mere suggestion of things from this group of very powerful men is enough to make, like, other people start like, oh, okay, yeah, I think he should do it. So for this person, when Donald Trump says he wanted to buy Greenland or have Greenland, the U.S. should acquire Greenland, annex it one way or the other. He immediately went into how to help Donald Trump do it the best way. Well, he's going to do it. So let's help him. Let's come to the position of how he'll do it the best way. And for him, he doesn't want to have any military effort. He doesn't want to have an invasion. Let's see if we can go with the buy it route. So he tweets out, I think he should buy Greenland. As if there's also the option of not doing that. As if he can't make that position on his social media. Do you get what I'm saying? I find that odd. I find that crazy odd. So we have this dude in the military who, as soon as Donald Trump thinks that Greenland is something that should be acquired, he kicks in immediately to, how can I support the president and tell him the best way to advise him as the best way to do it? As opposed to saying, no, that's absurd. Do things that the country actually needs. Then as it relates to this, the Doge stuff with Elon Musk, and it relates to Trump purging the Kennedy Center Board of Trustees and installing himself as the new chairman, a similar thing. A willingness to lick boots for power, towards power, and just kind of like agree with what powerful people are doing and to make it work. I think it's the same thing that when Elon Musk did twice the fascist Nazi salute on America's biggest political stage. Everyone had to move on. They don't want to deal with it. They'd rather pretend it away. They'd rather give him the most charitable interpretation. The man has yet to even really properly address it. He just kind of moved on, and the thing is that he's laughed it off. He's like, obviously, blah, blah, blah. Obviously, I meant to, that my heart goes out to you. That's what we're dealing with, yo. To me, that's the most interesting part of all this stuff is watching the ways people engage with these phenomena. Everything from the Super Bowl and the Super Bowl halftime show with Kendrick to watching this president, watching how the media covers this president, watching how people on social media individually, how they project their experience onto the president and onto his actions. Where even strongman, power consolidating moves, anti-democratic moves, power grabbing moves are okay because it's interpreted as for the team. And it won't be until you look at you actually experience an encroachment on your own personal freedom before you finally look up and notice what's happening. How can that be? How can we be, I'm 42 years old. How can that be? How can you be someone who is educated in the most basic of American civics, and educated in the most basic sort of history 101 or U.S. history 101? By the way, he's also pandering to the conservative right, he's got some like Department of the Faith that he's doing as well. So he's very openly bringing in more loyalists, more political loyalists of a religious bent this time, of a Christian religious bent. He's going to have that, I think that pastor woman, that white pastor woman who was like, halal, halal, shaba, shaba, la, 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 praying for him. She's a sort of a tongue-speaking Christian pastor who believes that Donald Trump is a godsend, and she has to. God is represented through Trump because of his power. This is wild stuff. But I think it's crazy to watch people choose not to see. I think it's absolutely insane. The same people who, if you look at liberals and you laugh at liberals because they couldn't see how out of it and kind of decrepit, you know what I'm saying, Joe Biden was. Now today you have to watch yourself, twist yourself up in a pretzel and lie and pretend as any values you had about small government are laughed off. Any idea you thought that Trump was going to be in favor of peace, that he wasn't bought by the same lobby and the same swamp that the other politicians are. And it's only like week 4. What is it? How many weeks are we in? We're not even like 2 months into this administration. But they're making a lot of moves. And they're making a lot of moves on purpose. And a lot of fast. And I really do think people need to grow into a capacity to see things outside of their little tribe and their little political parties. Yeah. That's how I see it. That's just how I see it, man. I can't help it. That's just how I see it. Applause for that. Applause for that. We're going to finish off this episode. Oh my gosh, I went to 47 seconds. I stopped looking at the time. It went over 47 minutes, but that's okay. We're going to keep going. That's the end of the episode. Thanks, everybody. I'll see you next time. I'll probably come on again Wednesday, or I might post a clip from season 2. I don't know. We'll see.
Discard some fraud frenemies.
Peace.
Trilogy, all love, but your girl and your mom feeling me.
Oh, wrong one. Peace.
And lock 'em out with the large guillotine. Y'all want heat, turn it up to like farther degrees. Clowns running like I'm caution disease. Pop out, see different like I'm Martian critique. They bumping the process from the Bronx to Belize. I don't know what you. And I don't care what you will or you won't do. Clown is my game, set the tone with my vocals. I'm ready, well trained like I'm swimming with Goku. Whoever got triggered was supposed to. Verses that I'm spinning is soul food. My worst days better than most do. So smooth, but really I want it all. A challenge is just a thing that I go through. Look, I already told you. I don't know what you are gonna